creating what we have called creating a steep slope. Now, after the creation of a steep slope, a resistant hard rock or a resistant rock is left behind, hanging. A resistant rock is left behind doing what? Hanging. And this resistant rock forming what? Forming a cliff. So, as we have said that, it is a rock face, a very hard resistant rock that during the process of erosion by a river remains hanging, resists all forms of erosion and remains hanging, forming a cliff. Then where the cliff is a point, what? Another feature that we call a plangi pool. A plangi pool. A plangi pool is a small depression, a very small depression on the foothills, on the lower area or lower point of a waterfall. How this plangi pool is formed when it is formed when water from a high level, water from a high what? Water from a high level does what? Is thrown with force. It is thrown with what? With force onto the bottom. Onto the bottom of a cliff. Onto the bottom of what? Onto the bottom of a cliff. Eroding materials onto the wall of the cliff, creating a small a cylindrical depression. Creating a cylindrical what? Depression. Usually, this depression usually is filled with water. This depression usually is filled with what? With the water. And it is known as a plangi pool. It is known as a plangi pool. So most of the plangi pools are mainly found near the waterfalls, actually on the base of the water, on the base of a waterfall. Maybe I could simply illustrate what I mean. So if this would be a waterfall, of course this one, we have called this one a resistant rock that we have called a cliff. A cliff. And of course, our waterfall is this river system that is flowing over a very steep what? Over a very steep gradient. So this one is our waterfall. This resistant rock, of course, this is land mass. Land mass. Now, say for example, Murchison Falls. The river is flowing from this direction. It meets a very steep slope here and begins to fall on a very steep slope. This is water. Now, this water falls into a basin-like depression here. It falls into a basin-like depression before the water continues to do what? Before water continues to flow. Now, this point where the water is falling, here materials have been eroded away. Initially, it was at this level. Initially, it was flat like that. But because the water is falling with a lot of force, it hits this ground and starts off. It starts off eroding some rocks, these which were here. So after the rocks have been eroded heavily here, they are a small depression. A small what? Depression is created. This depression is what we are referring to as a plunge pool. A plunge pool. So these three features are all found in the youthful stage of the river. They are all found in the youthful stage of the what? The river. The cliff, which is a rock, of course, that has resisted erosion. The waterfall, where water is dropping over a steep slope, and then the plunge pool. Another feature we can talk about in the youthful stage are potholes. The potholes. Potholes are referred to as small basin-like depressions found at the river's bed. Found at the river's bed, created by erosion of the rivers, created by erosion of the river's bed, created by erosion of the river's bed. So, as the river is flowing, as the river is doing what? Flowing. Sometimes the water or the load carried by the river, say for example, rock builders, the rock builders were aware. They were aware. They were aware or no. They were aware or no rocks at the rivers bed. They were aware or no rocks at the river's bed, and by so doing, small what? Small basin-like depressions are left behind. Usually where? At the bed, at the river's bed. These are known as what? Potholes. These are known as potholes. So that's how some of the potholes are. Some of the potholes are formed. So there are very many other features, of course, found in the youthful stage, and we shall go on looking at them later. Now let us look at the last stage, stage of a river called the old or senile. The old or senile what? Stage. I told you this stage is characterized, it is, of course it is the last stage on the river system, the last stage on the river system, dominated by, this stage is dominated by deposition. Mainly because it is dominated by deposition, mainly because of what? Mainly because of the low gradients. The water has reached the flat land. The water or river has reached what? A flat. The river has reached a flat land. Now, when the river reaches a flat land, of course, expect a lot of deposition. A lot of deposition is found in this stage. The first thing you expect to find there is meanders. Meanders are a characteristic of features in the old stage. Expect to find there depositional features like oxbolex. Expect to find there leaves. Expect to find there flood plains. And expect to find there deltas. expect to find their deltas. So these are some of the features that we expect to find in the old stage of the river. Mainly when you look at these features, they are the position in nature because the river has reached its what? The river has reached its old stage. Take an instance, last time we talked about oxbow lakes and then meanders. When a river reaches its flat land, when a river reaches in its youthful state or in the flat land, not in the youthful but rather in the old stage, the gradient is very low. Now that the gradient is very low, water is flowing over a what? Over a flat